Mommy, why don't I have a daddy?
Don't worry, baby. I'm enough for you.
Hi, mister. Are you my daddy?
I can't continue this relationship anymore. I think we should get divorced.
But baby, we can still make this work.
It's our anniversary, Tay. She moved toward him, reaching for his hand. He let her take it, but it felt lifeless in her grip. 3 years. I thought we could... I can't do this anymore. The words hit like a physical blow. Sienna's hand dropped. What? Tay Young walked past her to the bar cart, poured himself whiskey instead of touching the champagne. His broad shoulders were rigid under his tailored shirt, his jaw clenched. He still looked like the man she'd fallen in love with. Sharp features, intense dark eyes, the kind of commanding presence that made rooms go quiet when he entered. But something fundamental had changed. "I've been offered a position in Tokyo," he said, staring into his glass. "I'm taking it. I leave next week." If you're invested in this story, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Trust me, you'll want to see where this goes. Tokyo? Sienna's mind raced. Okay, we can make long distance work, or I can look for remote positions, or... No. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were those of a stranger. "I'm going alone. I need space, Sienna. I need to figure out what I want." "What you want? We're married. We made vows." "I don't feel it anymore." Each word was a knife. "Whatever we had, whatever I thought we had, it's gone. I don't know when it happened, but I can't pretend anymore." The room tilted, the candles blurred. Sienna grabbed the back of the sofa to steady herself. "You're saying you don't love me." "I'm saying I need to leave." "That's not an answer, Tay Young. Look at me and tell me the truth." He drained his whiskey in one swallow, set the glass down too hard. When he met her eyes again, she saw it. The truth she'd been too blind or too hopeful to notice before. "I don't love you anymore, Sienna. I'm sorry. I thought I did. I thought we were forever, but I was wrong." The champagne bottle sweated, forgotten. The candles burned down to nothing. The dinner grew cold in the oven, filling the apartment with the acrid smell of something ruined. Tae-Young packed a single suitcase that night. Sienna stood in the bedroom doorway, watching him fold shirts with mechanical precision, and tried to remember how to breathe. "When did you stop?" Her voice was barely a whisper. He paused, hands on a stack of ties. "I don't know." "Was there someone else?" "No, there's no one else. I need to be alone. I need to figure out who I am without this. Without her. Without them." He left at 2 a.m, didn't kiss her goodbye, didn't look back. Sienna stood in the wreckage of her anniversary surprise and crumpled to the floor in her beautiful dress, surrounded by romantic ruins, and learned what it felt like when forever died. The weeks that followed blurred together in a haze of grief. Sienna moved through her, life like a ghost, going to work at the tech firm where they'd met, coming home to an apartment that echoed with absence. She called Tae-Young obsessively at first, left voicemails that started angry, turned pleading, ended desperate. "Please just talk to me. We can fix this. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it. Call me back." "Tay, it's been 2 weeks. I deserve an explanation. I deserve more than this. Please." "I don't understand. I don't understand what happened. Just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to understand." Every call went straight to voicemail. Every text delivered but never read. It was like he'd vanished off the face of the earth. Her best friend Leah showed up one Saturday with Thai food and wine, took one look at the mess of the apartment, mail piling up, dishes in the sink, Sienna in 3-day-old sweats, and nearly cried. "Honey, you can't keep doing this to yourself." "He's just confused," Sienna said, picking at pad thai without eating. "When he gets to Tokyo and has time to think clearly, He'll realize what? That he destroyed his wife and left her picking up the pieces? Leia grabbed her hand, forced her to meet her eyes. He's not coming back, Sienna. And even if he did, would you really want him after this? You don't understand what we had. I understand that he left you on your anniversary without a real explanation. I understand that he's ghosting you like some college hookup instead of treating you like his wife. Leah's voice softened. I understand that you deserve so much better than this. After Leah left, Sienna sat in the darkening apartment and felt something shift inside her. Not acceptance. Not yet. But maybe the first crack in the wall of denial. She picked up her phone one last time, found Tay Young's contact, stared at his photo, them at the bean in Millennium Park, his arms around her, both of them laughing. When had that man disappeared? How had she not noticed? Her thumb hovered over the call button. Then her stomach lurched, hard and sudden and unmistakable. Sienna ran to the bathroom and threw up everything Leah had convinced her to eat. When the nausea finally passed, she sat on the cold tile floor, breathing hard, thinking. Her period was late. Very late. No, it couldn't be. The timing was impossible. The universe couldn't be that cruel. But even as she thought it, she knew. The next morning, Sienna bought 3 pregnancy tests from 3 different drugstores, spread them on the bathroom counter, and watched as every single one turned positive. She was 8 weeks pregnant with Tae-Young Choi's baby, and he'd vanished into Tokyo without looking back. The doctor's office was sterile and too bright. Sienna sat on the examination table in a paper gown that crinkled with every breath, staring at the ultrasound screen. "Congratulations, Ms. Hayes." The doctor smiled warmly. "You're measuring right at 8 weeks. Everything looks perfectly healthy. Do you have any questions?" A million questions. None she could ask. "The father," Sienna heard herself say. "He's traveling for work. I need to tell him. Her voice broke. The doctor's smile turned sympathetic. "Well, he'll certainly want to know. First trimester is an important time for support. Do you have family nearby?" Sienna nodded numbly. Her sister Maya lived in Atlanta. Her parents were in Baltimore. She wasn't alone. Except she was. She was completely alone with this. Outside the clinic, she sat in her car and tried Tae Young's number again. Straight to voicemail. Had he blocked her? Changed his number? Simply decided she wasn't worth answering? She tried his work email. Bounced back. Address not found. She tried his assistant in Seoul. "I'm sorry, Ms. Hayes, but Mr. Choi has requested that all messages be filtered through our Tokyo office, and I don't have authorization to. I'm his wife." A pause. "I'm very sorry. I have my instructions." Sienna hung up before the tears could start. She wouldn't cry. Not again. Not anymore. She opened a new email. Typed carefully. Precisely. Subject: Urgent. Please read. Tay Young. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you've made your feelings clear, but this isn't about us anymore. This isn't about our marriage or what we had or didn't have. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. It's yours. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking you to change your mind about Tokyo or about me. I'm just telling you because you deserve to know. Please respond, even if it's just to acknowledge you received this. Sienna. She hit send before she could second-guess herself, watched the email whoosh away into the digital void. Then she waited. 1 day became 3. 3 became a week. A week became 2. No response. Sienna tried again. Different email addresses she found through mutual connections. LinkedIn, professional directories. Every message went unanswered. Finally, she sent one last email, short and direct. I'm pregnant with your child. Please respond. Silence. He'd made his choice. He wanted nothing to do with her, and apparently nothing to do with their baby either. Sienna placed both hands on her still flat stomach and made a choice of her own. It's just us, baby, she whispered, but I promise you, I'm enough. I'll be enough for both of us. At 4 months pregnant, Sienna's body had started to show the truth she could no longer hide. The small bump was visible now, undeniable. She'd stopped going into the office, taking on remote work exclusively, unable to face the pitying looks and whispered questions from colleagues who'd watched her marriage implode in real time. The apartment felt smaller every day, haunted by memories of what should have been. She'd converted the spare bedroom into a makeshift nursery, painting the walls a soft yellow because she didn't know yet if she was having a boy or girl. Each brushstroke was an act of defiance. Each piece of furniture assembled alone was proof she could do this. Her sister Maya video called every evening, a lifeline from Atlanta. You look tired, Maya said, her face concerned on the laptop screen. Are you sleeping? As much as anyone can sleep when there's a tiny human using their bladder as a punching bag. Sienna tried to smile, but it felt brittle. I have another ultrasound tomorrow. Find out the gender? Yeah, I think so. I need to start making plans, you know? Real plans. Maya hesitated, then said carefully, Have you heard anything from him? Sienna's hand instinctively moved to her belly. No, nothing. It's been 3 months of silence, Maya. He's made it crystal clear he wants nothing to do with me, with us. You tried, sis. You did everything you could. Did I? The question escaped before she could stop it. Maybe I should have flown to Tokyo, showed up at his office, made him listen. Stop. Maya's voice was firm. You sent multiple emails. You called. You reached out through every channel available. He chose not to respond. That's on him, not you. You are not responsible for his cowardice. After they hung up, Sienna sat in the growing darkness of the apartment and let herself imagine it. Flying to Tokyo, tracking him down, watching his face when he saw her pregnant belly. Would he care? Would he feel anything? Or would those cold eyes just look through her the way they had on their anniversary? She pulled out her laptop, typed his name into the search bar. Maybe she could find his Tokyo address, his new office location, something. The first result stopped her heart. Rising business, star Tay Young. Choi makes romantic debut with Tokyo socialite Yuki Tanaka. No, this couldn't be, but the photos didn't lie. Tay Young in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, his arm around a stunning Japanese woman in a designer gown. They were at some gala, both of them smiling, looking comfortable together. Intimate. Sienna's hands shook as she scrolled through article after article. Sources say the pair have been inseparable for the past 2 months, bonding over their shared business interests and cultural heritage. Choi and Tanaka were spotted leaving the exclusive Roppongi restaurant together last week. Friends of the couple say they've never seen Tae-Young this happy. This happy. He'd left her shattered and broken, and 2 months later, while she was pregnant with his child, desperately trying to reach him, he was romancing someone else, looking lighter, freer, like he'd escaped some terrible burden, like he'd escaped her. The laptop screen blurred as tears finally came. Not the quiet, dignified tears she'd been rationing out over the past months. These were raw, gasping sobs that tore through her chest and left her struggling to breathe. He'd moved on, completely. Like their 5 years together meant nothing, like she meant nothing. And he had no idea, or didn't care, that she was carrying his daughter. his daughter. The ultrasound technician had confirmed it yesterday. A healthy baby girl, due in 5 months. Sienna looked down at her stomach, at the visible evidence of the man who'd abandoned them both, and felt something fundamental shift inside her. The grief that had consumed her for months crystallized into something harder, stronger, sharper. "You don't want us?" she whispered to the photos of Tay Young smiling with another woman. "Fine. Then we don't need you." She closed the laptop with finality, walked to the bedroom, pulled her wedding ring off her finger for the first time since he'd slid it on 4 years ago, placed it in a box at the back of her closet. Then she sat down at her desk and started making lists. Moving companies, Chicago to Atlanta. Tech startup hubs, Atlanta. Single mother resources, Georgia. Small business loans, childcare options. The grief was transforming, becoming fuel, becoming purpose. If Tae-Young Choi could build a new life, so could she, and hers would include the daughter he didn't even know existed. "You and me, baby girl," Sienna said, hands on her belly. "We're going to be just fine. Better than fine. We're going to be extraordinary." The labor lasted 14 hours. Sienna gripped Maya's hand so hard she was sure she'd break bones, screaming through contractions that felt like her body was being torn apart from the inside. The Chicago hospital room was too bright, too loud, too much everything. "You're doing great, sis. Just breathe through it. You've got this." I can't do this. It's too much." "Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. Come on, breathe with me." Another contraction, another scream, hours of pain and exhaustion and fear. And then, finally, a different sound. A tiny, furious cry that made everything else disappear. "It's a girl," the nurse said, smiling. "A beautiful, healthy girl." They placed the baby on Sienna's chest, this tiny, perfect creature with dark wisps of hair and eyes that would probably change color, but right now looked startlingly familiar. Sienna stared down at her daughter and felt her heart crack open in an entirely new way. "Hi, Zoe," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Hi, baby. I'm your mama. I've got you. I've got you forever." The baby, Zoe, made a small snuffling sound and seemed to settle at the sound of Sienna's voice, as if she recognized it, as if she knew, on some instinctive level, that she was safe. Maya leaned over, her own eyes wet. "She's perfect, Sienna. Absolutely perfect." "She has his eyes." The words escaped before Sienna could stop them. Maya squeezed her shoulder. "She has your strength. That's what matters." Later, when Maya had gone to get coffee and Sienna was alone with her daughter, she let herself think about it. About Tae-Young, somewhere in Tokyo with his new girlfriend, completely unaware that he'd become a father. Did he ever wonder? Did he ever regret? It didn't matter. Couldn't matter. "He doesn't get to know you," Sienna whispered to the sleeping infant. "He had his chance. He chose to walk away. You're mine, Zoe Hayes. Just mine." If you're loving this story so far, don't forget to like this video and drop a comment telling me what you think Sienna should do next. Should she tell Tae-Young about Zoe, or keep it secret forever? The first year was survival. Sienna moved back to Atlanta when Zoe was 6 weeks old, crashing with Maya while she figured out her next steps. The tech skills that had served her well in Chicago translated easily, and she started taking on freelance projects, working during Zoe's naps and late into the night after the baby finally fell asleep. Money was tight. Childcare was expensive. Some days, Sienna wasn't sure how she'd make it to the next week, but Zoe smiled at 3 months, laughed at 4, started reaching for toys at 5. Each milestone was a reminder of why Sienna was fighting so hard. At 8 months postpartum, Sienna registered her business, Nexus Innovations LLC. One woman, one laptop, one dream of building something that would give her daughter the life she deserved. The first client was small, a local startup that needed database management. $5,000. Sienna cried when the payment cleared. The second client led to a third. The third led to referrals. By Zoe's first birthday, Sienna had enough steady work to rent a small office space and hire an assistant part-time. By year 2, she had a team of 3 and a reputation for delivering exceptional work on impossible timelines. By year 3, Nexus Innovations had 20 employees, a sleek office suite in Midtown Atlanta, and a client list that included some of the Southeast's fastest-growing companies. Sienna Hayes, single mother and CEO, was featured in Atlanta Magazine's 30 Under 30 issue. Forbes did a profile on her company's innovative approach to data integration. Tech conferences invited her to speak. She bought a townhouse with a backyard for Zoe, hired a phenomenal nanny, started sleeping more than 4 hours a night. The broken girl who'd crumpled on her Chicago apartment floor was gone. In her place was a woman who'd learned that the only person she could truly depend on was herself. And every night, when she tucked Zoe into bed, she was reminded why it had all been worth it. "Tell me a story, Mommy," Zoe would say, her dark eyes, so much like her father's, wide and trusting. "Once upon a time," Sienna would begin, "there was a little girl who was the bravest, smartest, most wonderful person in the whole world, and her mama loved her more than all the stars in the sky. What about her daddy?" The question came eventually. It always did. Sienna would smooth Zoe's curls and choose her words carefully. "Her daddy lives far away. He had to go before Mommy could tell him about you." "Why doesn't he visit?" "Sometimes grown-ups make hard choices, baby, but you have me, and I love you enough for 100 daddies." It seemed to satisfy her, for now. But Sienna knew the questions would get harder, more specific, more painful to answer. On a Saturday morning, 3 months after Zoe's 4th birthday, those questions came to a head. Sienna was making pancakes, Zoe was coloring at the kitchen table, and NPR played softly in the background. A perfect ordinary moment. "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy?" The spatula froze mid-flip. Sienna took a breath, set it down, and sat at Zoe's level. "You do have a daddy, sweetie. He just lives far away." "But why doesn't he visit? Doesn't he want to meet me?" The innocence in those questions was devastating. "It's complicated, Zoe. Sometimes people aren't ready to be parents." "Is it because I'm bad?" Zoe's lower lip trembled. "No." Sienna pulled her daughter close, fierce and protective. "No, baby, you are perfect. So perfect. This has nothing to do with you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me." "Then why doesn't he want me?" How do you explain to a 4-year-old that her father chose ignorance over responsibility, that he'd rather pretend she didn't exist than face what he'd walked away from? "Sometimes people make mistakes," Sienna said carefully. "Your daddy made a choice before he knew about you, but you have me and your Aunt Maya and everyone who loves you so much. That's our family." Zoe seemed to consider this, then returned to her coloring. Crisis averted. For now. Sienna's phone buzzed. Crystal, her assistant. "Morning, boss. Just confirming. Contract signing with Choi Industries is Monday at 10. Sienna's blood turned to ice. "What? Choi Industries? The $65 million partnership deal we've been negotiating for 3 months? Final contract signing is Monday. Who's the CEO? Who specifically is signing?" A pause. Tay Young Choi. I sent you his bio last month. Why? Is something wrong?" The kitchen tilted. 4 years. 4 years of building a life separate from him, of creating a world where he didn't exist, where Zoe was hers and hers alone. Sienna, you there? Yes. Monday at 10, I'll be there. She hung up and gripped the counter, forcing herself to breathe. Zoe looked up from her coloring. Mommy, you okay? Sienna forced a smile. Fine, baby. Mommy's fine. Want to go to the park today? Yes. Can we feed the ducks? Absolutely. But as Zoe chattered excitedly about the park, Sienna's mind was racing. Tae-Young was coming to Atlanta, to her company, would be sitting across a conference table from her in 72 hours. He'd see her success, her confidence, everything she'd built without him, but he couldn't see Zoe, could never know about Zoe. That night, after Zoe was asleep, Sienna sat in her home office and researched him obsessively. 4 years of his life spread across her laptop screen. He'd left Tokyo after 18 months, returned to Seoul, taken over his family's company after his father's retirement, expanded it aggressively. The relationship with Yuki Tanaka had apparently ended. No photos of them together after the first year. No wife. No children mentioned anywhere. He'd built an empire, just like she had. Parallel lives that should never have intersected again. Sienna pulled out her most powerful suit, navy blue, sharply tailored, the kind that made her feel invincible in negotiations, practiced her expression in the mirror. Mr. Choi, pleasure to finally put a face to the name. Cold, professional, untouchable. She could do this. She'd faced harder things, built a company from nothing, raised a daughter alone, survived his abandonment and turned it into strength. One business meeting. That's all this was. He'd never know about the 4-year-old girl asleep down the hall who had his eyes and his smile. Never know what he'd lost when he walked away. Sienna looked at herself in the mirror one last time. The woman staring back was nothing like the broken girl he'd left behind. Good. Let him see what he'd thrown away. Let him regret. But he'd never, ever know about Zoe. That secret she'd take to her grave. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Sienna dressed with military precision. The navy suit fit perfectly, emphasizing her professional authority. She'd worn her natural hair in elegant twists, applied makeup that suggested confidence without trying too hard. Diamond studs, gifts to herself after the Forbes feature, caught the light. Every detail was armor. In the mirror, she looked like a woman who'd conquered the world, who had nothing to fear from a ghost from her past. Her hands only shook a little as she fastened her watch. Crystal met her at the office entrance, tablet in hand, expression slightly concerned. You sure you're okay? You've seemed off since I mentioned this meeting. I'm fine. Just want everything perfect for a deal this size. Well, they're already here. Early. Waiting in conference room A. Of course he was early. Tae-Young had always been pathologically punctual. Sienna forced herself to walk normally down the hallway, not too fast, not too slow. Through the glass walls of conference room A, she could see 3 figures, 2 associates in standard business attire, and him. 4 years had changed him. His shoulders seemed broader, his presence more commanding. He wore his authority like a second skin now, every inch the powerful CEO. But his face, those sharp features, that intense gaze, those were achingly familiar. She pushed open the door. Gentlemen, welcome to Nexus Innovations. Tae-Young's head snapped up, their eyes locked. Time stopped. She watched recognition flash across his face, followed by shock so profound he actually stood up, knocking his chair back slightly. His associates looked at him in confusion. Ms. Hayes? His voice was rough, disbelieving. Sienna extended her hand across the table, professional and cool. Mr. Choi, it's a pleasure to finally meet in person. Please sit. His hand engulfed hers. The touch sent electricity racing up her arm, muscle memory of 1,000 other touches, and she withdrew quickly, hating herself for the reaction. I didn't, he started, then stopped, recovered. I didn't realize you were based in Atlanta. I've been here 3 years. Nexus has experienced significant growth in that time. She took her seat at the head of the table, her team flanking her. Shall we begin? The meeting was torture disguised as business. Sienna presented their proposal with practiced ease, explaining the data integration systems, the timeline, the projected ROI. She was brilliant, and she knew it, watching Tay Young's associates nod approvingly at every point. But Tae Young himself could barely focus. She felt his eyes on her constantly, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Every time she glanced his way, he was staring with an expression she couldn't quite read. Confusion, regret, something else. Your company's growth trajectory is remarkable, Ms. Hayes, one of his associates said. 3 years from startup to this level of sophistication is almost unheard of. Hard work and dedication yield results, Sienna replied, and couldn't help the edge in her voice as her eyes flicked to Tay Young. When you're committed to something, truly committed, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Tay Young flinched. Actually flinched. Good. They reviewed contracts, discussed technical specifications, negotiated minor points. Through it all, Sienna maintained her icy professionalism, never letting the mask slip. Finally, papers were signed, handshakes exchanged around the table, a $65 million partnership sealed. Tae Young's associates gathered their materials, chatting with Sienna's team about implementation schedules. Tae Young lingered, clearly waiting for them to have the room. Sienna started toward the door. Sienna? Not Ms. Hayes. Her first name, intimate and familiar, stopped her like a physical touch. Please. 5 minutes. She turned, expression glacial. I don't believe there's anything personal to discuss, Mr. Choi. This is a business arrangement. My assistant can schedule a call if you have questions about the contract. You know that's not what I mean. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I had no idea you were in Atlanta. If you'd known, what? She kept her voice steady through sheer force of will. You would have chosen a different company? Don't worry. I'm perfectly capable of keeping our past separate from business. That's not... Sienna, please. We need to talk about what happened. What happened was 4 years ago. It's irrelevant now. It's not irrelevant to me. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Now it's not irrelevant? How convenient. When did this sudden relevance develop, Mr. Choi? Because I distinctly remember months of silence when it might have actually mattered. His jaw tightened. I was trying to give us both space. I thought... You thought? Her control cracked, just slightly. You didn't think at all. You left on our anniversary, moved to Tokyo, and disappeared. But it's fine. I got your message, loud and clear. Sienna, we're done here. My team will send the implementation timeline by end of day. She walked out before he could respond, before the tears threatening behind her eyes could fall, before 4 years of carefully constructed walls could crumble. In her office, door closed, Sienna let herself shake, let herself feel the fear that had been coursing through her veins since the moment she'd seen him. He couldn't know about Zoe. Whatever it took, however many lies she had to tell, he could never know. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. It's Tay Young. We need to talk. Not about business, please. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, then typed, I have nothing to say to you. Our past is irrelevant. His reply was immediate. Did you really think I wouldn't want to know you're in Atlanta? You didn't want to know anything about me 4 years ago. Nothing's changed. She blocked the number before he could respond again. At 3 o'clock, Crystal brought Zoe to the office as usual. Sienna's entire demeanor transformed, all the ice melting into warmth as her daughter ran into her arms. Mommy, I made you a picture. Let me see, baby. Zoe proudly displayed a crayon drawing of 2 stick figures. That's you, and that's me. We're at the park with the ducks. Sienna's throat tightened. It's beautiful, Zoe. Want to go to the park for real? It's such a nice day. Yes, can we get ice cream after? Anything for you? As they drove to Piedmont Park, Sienna tried to shake the feeling of being watched, of her carefully constructed world teetering on the edge of collapse. She'd seen Tay Young, survived it. The meeting was over. He'd go back to Seoul, and life would return to normal. She just had to hold it together a little longer. The park was perfect. Golden afternoon light, families playing, couples walking dogs. Their sanctuary. Sienna sat on their favorite bench near the lake, watching Zoe chase ducks with the unself-conscious joy only 4-year-olds possessed. She pulled out her phone. Email from Crystal about the follow-up meeting with Choi Industries next week. Next week. He'd still be in Atlanta next week. Her stomach knotted. How long was he staying? How many more times would she have to see him to maintain this facade, to... Mommy, look. Sienna looked up just in time to see Zoe running full speed toward a flock of pigeons, delighted laughter trailing behind her. Not watching where she was going, heading straight for the bike path. Time seemed to slow and speed up simultaneously, the cyclist coming fast around the bend, Zoe's small body directly in his path, Sienna's scream catching in her throat as she leaped from the bench. Too far. She was too far. A blur of motion, strong hands scooping Zoe up just as the bike swerved past, the cyclist yelling an apology as he struggled to maintain balance. Sienna ran, heart in her throat, and reached them just as the man turned, holding her crying daughter safely in his arms. Tae-Young Choi. The universe couldn't be this cruel. Zoe! Sienna reached for her daughter, and Tae-Young carefully transferred the frightened child. I'm okay, Mommy, Zoe sobbed. But it was scary. The bike was going to hit me. I know, baby. I know. Let me look at you. Are you hurt anywhere? Sienna's hands ran over Zoe frantically, checking for injuries, her own heart racing. I'm okay. The man caught me. Sienna finally forced herself to look at Tae-Young. Thank you. The words cost her everything. He was staring, not at her, at Zoe. Really seeing her for the first time. Zoe's tears were subsiding, replaced by curiosity. She studied her rescuer with the intense, unfiltered gaze of a child. You're really fast, she said. Like Superman. Tae-Young's voice was soft, strange. You have to watch where you're running, okay? Okay. Zoe tilted her head, still studying him. Sienna stood, holding her daughter. We should go. Thank you again, Mr. Sienna. The word was rough. Don't. The intimacy of hearing him say her name, here, now, with Zoe in her arms. I come here sometimes, he continued, to think. I never expected. Neither did I. An awkward silence stretched between them. Zoe wiggled in Sienna's arms. I'm okay now, Mommy. Can I go see the ducks? I'll be careful, I promise. Every instinct screamed to leave, to run, but Zoe was looking at her with those hopeful eyes, and she couldn't let fear dictate her daughter's joy. Stay where I can see you, right by the water. No running. Zoe skipped off to a safe distance, and Sienna was left standing with the man whose child she'd hidden for 4 years. She's beautiful, Tae-Young said quietly. Sienna's heart hammered. Yes, she is. How old? Oh, God. He was doing the math. She could see it happening behind his eyes. 4. His sharp intake of breath confirmed he'd made the connection. Sienna, don't. Is she mine? The question hung in the air between them, impossible to avoid, impossible to answer. You don't get to ask me questions. You lost that right. Tae-Young ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt. 4 years old. That means when you emailed? When I emailed to tell you I was pregnant? Bitterness flooded her voice. Yes. That email you never answered. Those calls you never returned. He looked stricken. What email? I never received any email about... Don't lie to me. I sent multiple messages. I called for months. You ignored everything. I changed my email when I moved to Tokyo. His voice was urgent now. To avoid reminders of Chicago, of us. I didn't want anything that would make me second-guess my decision. I didn't... God, Sienna, I didn't know. When did you send it? 2 months after you left. I tried every way I could think of to reach you. They stared at each other, the implications settling between them like fallout. Are you saying you never got my messages? Her voice shook. I swear, I had no idea. If I'd known... It doesn't matter now. It matters. His voice rose, then dropped when he saw Zoe glance their way. I have a daughter. I have a... No. Sienna's voice was steel. You don't have anything. I have a daughter. She's mine. She's mine too. Biologically, biology isn't parenthood. The words exploded from her. Where were you when I was terrified and alone? When I was in labor for 14 hours? When she had colic and cried for 6 hours straight? When she took her first steps? Said her first word? Where were you? I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You wanted out. You got what you wanted. Zoe had wandered back toward them during the argument, drawn by the raised voices. Neither adult noticed immediately. She was staring at Tae-Young with unnerving intensity. Zoe, honey, stay by the ducks, Sienna started. You have my eyes, Zoe said. Everything stopped. Zoe stepped closer to Tae-Young, studying his face with the brutal honesty only children possess. You have the same eyes as me, and your nose is like my nose. Tae-Young knelt slowly to her level, and Sienna saw tears forming in his eyes. Zoe, we need to go. Sienna's voice was desperate, but Zoe wouldn't look away from Tae-Young. Her small face was serious, working through something. Mommy says my daddy lives far away, that he had to leave before she could tell him about me. Each word was a knife in Sienna's chest. But you're here, and you have my face. Tae-Young's hand trembled as he reached out, then stopped, unsure if he had the right to touch her. Zoe looked between them, her 4-year-old mind connecting dots that would change everything. Are you my daddy? The world stopped spinning. Sienna's hand flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Everything Sienna had built, all the walls she'd constructed, came crashing down with one simple question from an innocent child, and she had no idea how to put the pieces back together. The 3 of them stood frozen in Piedmont Park, a moment suspended between past and future, between what was lost and what might be found. And Sienna knew, with absolute certainty, that nothing would ever be the same again. If you've made it this far, I need you to hit that like button and subscribe, because part 2 is going to blow your mind. Drop a comment telling me, should Sienna forgive Tae-Young, or was 4 years of absence unforgivable? Your thoughts matter, so let me know below.